In this series of videos, we are discussing the characteristics of a Connemara pony. What does it take to be a Connemara pony? And in this video, we're going to be talking about the front of a Connemara pony. In the Connemara pony breed standards, the characteristics of a Connemara pony have been broken down into these 9 elements. And I went through these in the previous video, which was the first in the series. So we've got type, height, colour, head, front, body, limbs, hind, and movement. And we're going to go through each one of these in turn, but we're not starting at the top. Type sort of brings them all together. So I'll probably do that one last. Height and colour are very easily defined, done in the last video. Head, I was always told you look at the head last. In terms of conformation anyway, yes, it's a key characteristic of a Connemara pony, but in terms of conformation, it's not super important, although we all like a pretty head. So I'm going to come back to that one, and we're going to start with front. The Connemara pony breed standards stipulate that the front of a Connemara should have a head well set onto a neck. Crest should not be overdeveloped, neck not set on too low, a good length of rein, well-defined withers, and good sloping shoulders. So let's break it down by looking at some ponies. Here we have Linnet at the top and Edie at the bottom. And remember, we are not looking at front limb. We're not looking at limb. We are looking at head onto neck. So not head, but head onto neck, neck and shoulder. I have to move myself a little bit more. I need to get off of Edie's shoulder there. There we go. If I put myself up Linnet's teats, then we can see Edie's whole front and Linnet's whole front. So I think both these ladies have heads that are quite well set onto their necks. Looks like it flows, it looks like it belongs there. Edie's picture isn't brilliant because she's not completely side on, so I do have another one of her here, which just shows that it looks like her head belongs to her neck. The join here at the throat is quite neat. Linnet has maybe got a bit of a thick throat latch there, just where her neck joins onto her head. It's just a little bit thick, a little bit clumsy there, a tiny bit. I think Edie's is a little bit neater. We do have a pony who looks better now, but for a little while, she looked like the head had sort of been stuck on, and it maybe didn't quite belong on that neck, and that's Stella. Apparently the neck is one of the last things to finish growing, so I'm hoping she's going to gain more flow in her neck into her head, but I don't think she has the best head set onto neck. I think these ladies, there's nothing to criticise about the way their heads are set onto their necks. If we just switch Linnet out for Patrick and have this picture here, I think Patrick's got a very slightly thick throat latch. I don't know if that's a stallion thing, because I think I've known a few stallions to, or seen a few stallions to have that sort of thicker throat latch there, but otherwise I do think that Patrick also ticks the box for head well set onto neck. But really keen to hear the opinions of more experienced Connemara breeders or judges or people who show, or anyone who knows more about the conformation of a Connemara pony, because I'm just putting my interpretation on the breed standards here. So head onto neck. And then the next thing was crest should not be overdeveloped. Now stallions naturally do have more of a crest. I don't think Patrick has an immensely overdeveloped one. I think for a stallion that's quite balanced. Let me know your thoughts on that one. And if we go back to Linnet, again, I don't think she's got an overdeveloped crest, maybe a tiny bit cresty with a bit of fat on her, and equally I think Edie's probably a tiny bit cresty with a little bit of fat on her, but I don't think either of these two has what you would call an overdeveloped crest. Now the next thing was neck not set on too low, and now I do think if you look at Edie here, I think her neck is set on quite low. Is it too low? I don't know. Interested to hear people's thoughts out there. I always thought that Linnet had her neck much better set onto her shoulders, but actually when you look at the comparison, Linnet's maybe set on a little bit higher. If we go back to Patrick, you can see that he is again higher set. It looks very slightly U-necked here, like a bit of over muscling on the underside. And if we switch Edie out for MJ, who is their son, you see that MJ, in my opinion, takes far more after his dad and has that much higher neck set. Perhaps MJ's is a little bit too high, whereas his full sibling Autumn, I think, really takes after their mum Edie. I think she's got that much, it's not a great picture I realise, but she's got that much lower neck set. It's not my favourite thing. I do prefer a higher neck set, but maybe it's not as high as MJ's. What's everyone think out there? I guess we're talking about breed standards. So what is the better example of a Connemara type? And also what's your just general preference? Just going back to this picture, because now we're going to talk about good length of rein. That's the next element. And now the length of rein is the distance between the bit in the horse's mouth and the rider's hands. So the two key factors about that are going to be the neck length and also the shoulder angle. And I think both these ladies have that nice long neck, which would give a good length of rein, but at the same time they look like they could collect themselves into a nice outline. Let me know your thoughts. Still feel like an imposter saying these things. Bringing Patrick back into it, I think he also has a good length of rein. He does have a long sloping shoulder, which is really going to add to that length of rein as well, I think. And then we've got well-defined withers. I think Patrick is possibly missing withers. Withers are should be a little lumpy bump here at the bottom of the mane. Patrick's maybe missing a little bit of wither. Edie's got more defined withers there. Going back to Linnet, you can see she has got a visible wither. I think Connie's maybe do lean to having no wither I think, is maybe a bit of a Connie tendency. So having a defined wither is a good thing. And then a good sloping shoulder was the last element. So yeah, I think Lynette's got a decent slope to her shoulder. Yes, I think Edie does too. And I really do think that Patrick's got a lovely, lovely slope to his shoulder as well. And one of the key things I've been asked quite a lot is what about Nell means that she doesn't quite have the conformation that we're looking for in a future broodmare. And length of neck, length of rein and shoulder angle is one of them. So here is Nell, just to compare to these two ladies. So you can just maybe see the difference. Nell has just, her neck is a little bit on the short side for me, and her shoulder is just maybe a little bit upright. She's a lovely pony. There's lots to like about her. But in terms of things about her conformation, which maybe aren't just quite what we're looking for in terms of a broodmare, she just does lack a little bit of length of rein and is just a little bit upright in her shoulder for me. But as I say, that does not make Nell a bad pony, just where she could improve. And as I'm going to say in all of these videos, this is just my opinion and my interpretation of the breed standards, and I've only been breeding Connemara ponies for like 5-6 years, so really new to this, still very much learning myself. And what might not make a good Connemara pony doesn't mean that they're not a good animal or have other attributes which are pretty awesome, like Nell's complete unflappableness is like gold. So hopefully that's kind of covered off the front of a Connemara, excluding head, excluding front limb. So it's kind of neck onto head, neck onto shoulder, wither, and just sort of length of rein as well. Broken it down to what the breed standards say and what I can see in our ponies, which is positive, and where perhaps they could have improvements. Let me know if you've got any more questions on the next one. I think the next one, was it front limb? Next one might be front limb.